everybody, what's going on? This is Derek, or Bird That Steals.
And this is Justin, aka Soft Pillows.
And we are D&J's Epic Quest back again here.
Back again. D&J's back again.
Call a friend.
Call a friend. Tell them to subscribe.
Check us out. Our rap game's coming on pretty strong tonight.
I would say that was a terrible attempt at a rap game, but yeah. What do I know?
We're certainly no Eminem,
No.
but I mean we're probably like a second-rate Eminem for sure.
Yeah. Are there knockoff M&Ms?
Like maybe those are all the ones that were standing up.
Ooh. But I just meant like as far as candy. Like, are there knockoff M&Ms?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna call us that, but I don't think they exist. Oh well.
What's going on, man?
Not much. It's been a slower week. Not really too much to report on, I guess. My scars and my incisions from the surgery are healing up quite nicely. I'm not really in any type of pain or any level of uncomfortableness. So
were you able to do a lot of dancing this weekend?
I did shake my ass at the wedding. Danny always tells me to, when you're dancing, is just to write your name with your ass. So that's all I do. Is I just write my name.
Have never heard that.
Yeah, I mean, you do it to the rhythm of the music, and you got yourself a dance move.
Huh.
And you could do print, or you could do cursive. I choose to do the cursive butt wiggle.
You could mix it up, even do both.
Right? Yeah. Yes, you could. So, yeah, no, it was a blast. My cousin getting married was pretty cool.
It was your cousin?
That's cool. Yeah, it was my cousin. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh yeah, you don't want to miss that.
No, not at all. Free beer. How can you not want to go?
Exactly. Can't turn that down.
Right, except it was Hams. It was Hams beer, so like I had like 7 of them, and I'm like, I'm not even buzzed. And I don't drink that much, so that's saying something.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you the last time I had a Hams.
I want to say this was probably my first.
Did you drink it warm?
No, it was cold. It was cold. But I'm not a big IPA guy. For whatever reason, I can't stand the taste of hops. It's just so overpowering,
Can I break some news to you?
I already know what you're gonna say, but go ahead.
I don't think Hams is just like a Pilsner. It's like basically like a cheap Bud Light.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, were you just going a different direction? Like that's not you weren't saying the Hams tasted like that. Did I just misunderstand?
Yeah, no, I was not saying that Hams tasted like that. I'm just saying that like I guess there were other beers, but they just happened to be IPAs. So that's why I was drinking the Hams. Yes.
Sorry to jump your shit there, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's humorous.
It's an acquired taste. I drank the Bud Light limes. That's like because I didn't like beer at first. I drank Bud Light limes to kind of like acquire the taste. And then like the first craft beer that I really liked was from Surly. It's called Todd the Axe Man. Now I'll still drink Surly every now and again, but I'm not too big on them. Just because they've had, and maybe things aren't really what they seem, but they've had some bad press, and it's probably cleared up some. And they're also, I mean, they're pretty big now. I like to try the stuff from smaller places, not something that's pretty big. I don't know, just kind of my deal, I guess.
Interesting. What was the bad press? I didn't hear about this.
They had like, so their workers were trying to like unionize, and they like shut it down, and they said like it didn't have anything to do with that. I don't remember exactly what the story was, but um, yeah, basically, and I guess I don't even know now if they did end up unionizing later. But yeah, the owners like shot it down and like did not let it happen. I think they might have fired some people. I'd have to go back and look, but um, I don't currently work in a union. I've worked in two. One of them was a really good union. The other one was horseshit, and may as well not have been there. But overall, I'm a pretty big proponent of unions. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've never worked for a union, but I have heard good things.
yeah, I mean, it's like anything. There's good and bad, and I can recognize that. But the one that was good, I was in the steelworkers union for a bit, and they were really good. I'll tell you a quick story. So in the break room, they had like ketchup and mustard on the tables for the guys, and one time the ketchup ran out, so whoever buys it decided to buy like the cheap brand, not like the Heinz, or whatever brand it was, and so somebody filed a grievance over that. And they won it. So I can't think of too many places where that is going to fly. But I'm sure the guy, the manager is probably like, just buy him the fucking ketchup, and why are we dealing with this? Like, quit trying to save a buck. Buy the stupid ketchup.
Right. Yeah. It's not like their profits are marginally different than an extra dollar for some good ketchup.
I don't like ketchup, so it was not really a big deal to me. I didn't care about it. I definitely thought it was funny.
Yeah, I don't mind ketchup. It's definitely not my first, third, or first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or even sixth choice. But I will take many other sauces before ketchup.
Yeah, I mean, I'll eat it on a burger, like if it comes with it, but I'd rather just have it without.
Right. Yeah. I don't dip my fries in ketchup. I'd rather have them in barbecue sauce, like a honey barbecue.
Hmm. I've heard of people doing like honey, but I guess I usually just do ranch.
Yeah. It depends on the ranch. Like fast food ranch, gross. But
Some of it's pretty good. Some of
like
it sucks though too.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'll do like a Chipotle ranch. Like those are good.
Oh, agreed.
But yeah, I mean, I guess how have you been? Anything new?
Not really. We had a little get together here at our house on Saturday. Some friends, coworkers, and stuff, and I had a few beers. Wasn't terribly hungover. Had a little, just kind of tired, like a tired headache Sunday morning, and that was about it. But a pretty good time. Made a
Gotcha.
bunch of we had walking tacos. I'd never had a walking taco before, but we did that. It was fun.
What's a
Just
walking?
hung out. Oh, you get like a bag of Doritos, like a personal size bag of Doritos, and you put
Oh,
like
okay.
a scoop of taco meat, whatever other toppings in there, and kind of shake it up.
Gotcha. I've seen those. I just didn't know that that's what they were called.
Well, maybe they have a different name too. I'm not sure, but that's what I've heard them called.
Got it. Got it. Um, well, glad you had some fun and we're
You as
mildly
well.
hungover. But yeah, I guess it's crazy to think about is we have like 130-ish pages here and then we're done with this book.
Yeah, I've still got the ants in my pants feeling like I just want to cruise through the rest of this, but
Yeah. Yeah, me as well, but I don't know. I feel like I've kind of learned to appreciate, our process even though it requires me to be a little patient. especially with moving on to the next chapter. So yeah, it's cool. I'm liking this book. Really, really liking it.
For sure. Yeah, you got to trust the process. I think we got a good one, but I really wanted to read this chapter a second time. I just did not have the time with how much I worked last week and then this weekend. So if I'm a little rusty on this chapter, that's why. So I've got my summaries here, but I didn't have a lot of, I guess, additional notes for it. But we'll definitely have some talking points.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that, and we can maybe dive into this as we go through this chapter and the sections here, but I maybe read this chapter 3 times, and I also didn't have a lot of extra things to say because I guess to prepare the audience, it's to me it's kind of a like everything just transitions well within the sections. It's not there isn't really like a lot of stuff to break down. It's very like not action oriented is probably the wrong word, but it's not it's very pacey. It's just a very pacey chapter.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I was just kind of this thought kind of just popped into my head, but I mean we're mostly done with this book. Like you said, we don't have a whole lot left, a little over 100 pages, but we have these different sections, these different point of views within each chapter. It's just amazing to me. How do you write that? How do you keep everything straight? Like, there's definitely got to be some thought and some purpose to the way that he did this, and it just kind of blows my mind. I certainly could not do it.
No, I couldn't either. Like just the whole like fact of continuity, in any type of
Right.
media, whether that's video or animation or books or whatever that it is, just making sure that like everything is aligned um you know is accounted for. But and just with the fantastical way that Steven Erickson writes makes
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
cool. Do you want to kick off our epigraph for chapter 18 here?
I was going to ask if you wanted to take it. How do you want to rip it up?
Yeah, I can do it. I just got to go
All
back
right.
to that page.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, it's cool. Yeah, and I mean, this is our 19th episode, so next episode here will be our 20th episode.
Yeah, it's a pretty big milestone. I mean, for I feel like it's a pretty big milestone. I mean, everybody starts at one, right? And we're still going, so it feels good.
It does feel good. It does feel very good. All right, our epigraph for chapter 18 of Gardens of the Moon. And this blue city hides under its cloak, a hidden hand that holds like stone, a blade envenomed by the 8-limbed Herald. The sting brings death in the span of grief that marks a final breath. So this hand defies sorcery's web and trembles the gossamer's strand of a spider's deadly threat. This hand beneath the blue city's cloak drives home power's gentle balance.
All right, we'll just move right on into the first section here.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. Excuse me while I clear my throat. Whiskey Jack asked Kalam if he was up to it. Kalam said there wasn't much choice as he sharpened his knives. He looked at Quickben in the corner with his eyes closed, holding a piece of bedroll in his hands. Fiddler and Hedge took apart and cleaned their massive crossbow. Whiskey Jack knew every hour that passed brought the hunters closer and closer. The Tisty Andy made him most nervous. He knew his squad was good, but they weren't that good. Trots leaned against the wall, and Mallet slept, snoring loudly. Whiskey Jack turned back to Kalam and said it was a long shot. Kalam nodded in agreement and said there's no reason for the man to show himself again since they got burned the last time. But he will try the inn again. Maybe someone from the guild will mark him, and they'll show up. Maybe he can get a word in before they kill him. Odds don't look good, but it's all they've got. Whiskey Jack says if things don't go well tomorrow, they detonate the intersections and hurt them that way. Quick Ben woke up and said he can't find Sorry anywhere. Whiskey Jack asks what that means. Quick Ben figures she's dead. Holding the cloth, Quick Ben says there's no way the rope could hide from him. Fiddler says maybe he quit the game. Quick Ben says the god isn't afraid of them. If anything, it's more likely he would be coming down on them. Shadow Throne must have told him who he is, or rather, was, and gods don't like being cheated, especially twice. Quick Ben says he's stumped. Whiskey Jack asks if they should just abandon her, and Quick Ben says they may as well. They all wished they were wrong about her, but what Sorry had done had nothing to do with being human, and he's glad of that. Clem says he'd hate to think that evil was real and it existed with a face as plain as the next man's. Quick Ben says it keeps you sane every time you order someone to die, and they'd be the last to suggest another way that Whiskey Jack hadn't thought of yet. Whiskey Jack says he appreciates it and asks if anyone else has anything to say. Fiddler says he does, and I will read the quote here because I really liked it. I think it's a good quote, and it would have been a lot to type, so I will just read it here. Fiddler straightened in his chair and cleared his throat. Hedge poked him in the ribs as he was about to begin. After a menacing scowl, he tried again. It's like this, Sergeant. We've seen a lot of our friends die, right? And maybe we didn't have to give the orders, so maybe you think it's easier for us, but I don't think so. You see, to us, those people were living, breathing. They were friends. When they die, it hurts. But you go around telling yourself that the only way to keep from going mad is to take all that away from them. So you don't have to think about it, so you don't have to feel anything when they die. But damn, when you take away everybody else's humanity, you take away your own. And that'll drive you mad as sure as anything. It's that hurt we feel that makes us keep going, Sergeant. And maybe we're not getting anywhere, but at least we're not running away from anything. There was a silence in the room, and Hedge punched Fiddler in the arm. I'll be damned, you got a brain in there after all. I guess I've been wrong about you all these years. Probably the most heartfelt quote of the book. It just really struck home for me. Whiskey Jack could see the care in each man's eyes, and open offer to friendship he'd spent years pushing away, and they kept coming back. Whiskey Jack wrestled the idea of Sorry not being human. Everything she'd done was within the bounds of humanity, but were in flux. But it did not collapse. He had seen much in his life, many terrible things, and it wouldn't change his view on humanity now. It was hard for him to admit it, but now he was with friends. He gave the order to ready arms. There would be an inspection soon, and he'd better not find anything out of order.
Yeah, that I really like that quote as well. And I think it just kind of accentuates the way that Whiskey Jack is feeling at this moment in time, because I feel like revelation is probably a strong word for it, but I think that he's come to terms with the fact that, like, I think that, like, this, up until this point, he's been spending his mindset is around, like, I can't have friends because they're just going to die. I just have to be this stoic man who gives orders, and sometimes those orders are death or could lead to someone's death. And I think that it's kind of a turning point for him, and he recognizes that no matter what I do or put this group through, like, they're still here. I'm stuck with them. And that's a good thing, you know? And then this quote by Fiddler just, I don't know, it made everything sit nicely for me.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it almost validated him as a leader. You know, they recognize that he's got to make these tough calls, and sure, it's okay to feel bad about it, but at the end of the day, you still got to do the job, and the rest of the squad recognizes that, but don't. I think he doesn't want Fiddler doesn't want to be treated like a number. They're people. They've got feelings. They mean things. Somebody's brother, father, son, whatever. It's just not a wasted life.
Right. Exactly. It's funny going back to when we were first introduced to these characters. Do you remember that? Like Captain Paran like encounters them in Pale, not Whiskey Jack, but Fiddler, Mallet, Hedge. And I don't know. I guess I just didn't know what to think of these characters at first, and now I kind of adore them a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of just like he's saying. Like we've got to learn a little bit about them. As the people they are. Not really just a character. We've spent some time with them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I think that I don't know if Sorry really has anything to do with Whiskey Jack's, I guess, kind of turn of point of view within himself. But I find it interesting that, we as the reader, we know that it was definitely because the rope was removed from the possession of Sorry. But Quick Ben just brushes it off like, oh, she must be dead because I can't contact her. But then Fiddler kind of nails it on the head when he says like maybe he quit the game. In a sense, he kind of did. Not voluntarily by any means, but like he did quit. At
Just that
least.
was kind of the deal that he made.
Right. I mean, I definitely don't. I feel like Cotillion, I feel like it would be really stupid for him to just not exist. I feel like he's gonna make a comeback in some way, shape, or form. I just don't know when.
Yeah, the like it kind of, in a sense, it kind of happened off screen, off page, and I don't think it's just going to be left at that.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, it was another section where you really get a sense of the camaraderie between the two, and you get kind of a little peek into Whiskey Jack and his mind. And I think that he's just overall finally found and appreciates the fact that like these are not only his soldiers, but like they're his friends.
Yeah, as much as maybe he doesn't want them to be, but it's hard to see your friends die, and obviously it's what he must be afraid of.
Right. Yeah. And I can understand maybe the estrangeness that Whiskey Jack feels, like closing himself off, kind of putting up a wall as far as friendship goes, because he's going to have to make some decisions that he probably isn't really in favor for, but may be necessary and would cost his friends their lives.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the last thing anybody wants to see is their friends die. But I mean, that's war sometimes. I mean, any moment really could be your last.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess outside of that, I didn't have much for this section. I think that's probably the bigger takeaways, those two.
Yeah, I guess I would say that. I mean, that was probably my favorite quote so far in the story. And I don't even really think it's close. That one it really stuck out.
Yeah, I would
Um,
100% agree with that.
yeah,
And coming from kind of like an unexpected character too.
Yeah, not really a major character, like a secondary character, but yeah, it was kind of surprising to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I guess if you're cool, we can move on to section 2 here.
Yeah, go for it.
Colin Perran's journey had been slow. Call's wound had opened up many times since their journey began. Call had found a way of sitting in the saddle where most of his weight had been on the uninjured leg, making it so the wound hadn't reopened today. Perran had sensed a mood from Call. Despite the bond that had formed between them, they said but a few words since that morning. Call's leg looked fucking awful. They didn't get much help from the garrison at the Catlin Bridge. The lone surgeon there had been sleeping from one of his quote unquote off nights. They were supplied with clean bandages, which were already soaked through with blood at this point. They approached the edge of Worrytown. Call, having a conscious moment, asked Paran if they were at Worrytown Gate. Paran, while unsure, said that he thought that they were. Paran asks Call if they will be allowed to pass or will the guards call for a surgeon. Call explains that they'll let them through, but asks specifically for Paran to take him to the Phoenix Inn. Call's head sagged again, but was able to mumble to Paran that there was someone at the Phoenix Inn with a healer's touch. Fixing his gaze on the gates of Jerujistan, he wonders to himself, understanding why the Empress wanted the city so avidly. Yeah.
I
His
get
leg.
that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that I really liked how this section really conveyed a little bit of sense of urgency for Call's leg, and you can't help but like be worried about him a little bit, like from the reader's perspective. Like, is he gonna make it on time? Is he gonna die as they get there? Like there's so many, I guess, scenarios that Call could find himself in.
Yeah, just reading this section, I got kind of vibes from Lord of the Rings, where the 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 kid's riding on the horse and he's got his sister with him, and they're going to King Theoden, and they get to the city, and he just like falls off the horse, like because he's exhausted. That's obviously these guys aren't riding that hard, but it kind of gave me a similar picture in my head, or maybe even I think there's something kind of like that in Gladiator, if I remember right. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but um, just a comparison that I drew up in my head, I guess. I don't know. It's what it made me think of.
I guess I am unfamiliar with the Lord of the Rings, but I think you are correct with the Gladiator. I go to Game of Thrones with Khal Drogo when he's sick and essentially
Oh
falls
yeah,
off his horse.
yeah, that's a good one too.
So yeah, but um, I just I, I just put myself in I guess Paran's shoes here a little bit. He has never seen the city before, but as soon as he sees it, he can understand why the Empress wants it, even though he doesn't really. I don't think that he really has the full picture of. I mean, we as the readers don't even have a full picture on what Empress Lucine really wants with Jerujistan. Like we have clues based on some of the interactions between some of the different characters, but I think that there's still a lot shrouded in mystery as far as what exactly she's going to do.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
I don't. Yeah, it's. I have a hard time even, I guess, beginning to imagine.
yeah, do you I know this is probably really terrible, but do you remember the first chapter we met Krupp? and he was, kind of like walking in his dream or whatever, and he was passing by a bunch of women dunking cats. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So,
Glad you brought that up again.
okay, good. I'm glad I could bring it back around. But when I read this section and it was explained that the surgeon that was with the garrison had sleeping from one of his off nights, for whatever reason, I thought that just popped into my head. I'm like, I wonder if he was with like the chicks dunking cats, and that's why he was having an off night.
Is dunking cats a euphemism?
I mean, maybe you'd think that would be like dunking wiener dogs, instead. But you could be right. It definitely could be a euphemism. If for whatever reason we ever get Erickson on the show, we can ask him if dunking cats was a euphemism for something.
We'll have to jot that down so we don't forget that question.
Right. He'd probably just be like, "You guys are fucking idiots."
Like that's what you took from that? No.
No, that's not what I meant to. No. But I think you and I have a little bit of an interesting state of mind sometimes.
Yeah. It must be the Midwestern in us.
Well, very well could be, yeah. But I guess the only other thing that I had for this section was that I know Call, before he goes unconscious, tells Haran, kind of in a mumble that there is someone at the Phoenix Inn with like a healer's touch, and I'm kind of wondering if he's talking about Krupp.
Have we seen Krupp have any healing abilities?
Well, we know that he can open warrens because that is what he did when they first met Lorne in the Good Droby Hills, and then got knocked off his ass and onto his ass. You know what I mean? So I guess I don't recall him there being a specific warren that he can conjure, so to speak. So I don't know if that's really been revealed yet, but maybe he's a master of all trades and can maybe do more than one. So I just thought that was an interesting detail there that I feel could have been very easily overlooked. Because, yeah, I mean, Call has to know that Krupp, he's a mage of some kind. But I don't know. I just think it's alluding to so much more. And I could very well just be overthinking it, but that's just kind of where my mind goes when it comes to Krupp, at least.
I guess my only little bit of pushback would be, why wouldn't have Krupp just healed him before he left, before they were separated, after their little battle with the adjunct?
Gotcha. I see your argument, but I raise you a rebuttal.
Fair. Let's hear it.
He couldn't heal him because Crocus and, Sari/Apsalar had left, and Baruch's orders were to protect the coin bearer. So he had a sense of urgency to catch up with Crocus and couldn't therefore give time to Call to heal him.
But how much time do you think it would have taken?
I guess, I don't know. In other instances where people are healed via a warren, it doesn't seem like it takes a long time. But, I feel like that would probably be a very uninteresting thing to write about. Like, this warren was opened and the calm, cool feeling of healing pulses through wounded dude's body. 4 hours later, all healed. You know what I mean? Like, so
sure, yeah.
Who knows, right? I would assume that it's probably fairly quick, but at the end of the day, Crocus needs some type of protection. However, for whatever reason, he doesn't. I mean, any interaction he has without anybody, quote unquote, helping him, Opon intervenes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I think that's probably one of the things that like they're maybe just unaware of or don't want to take that chance or that risk.
Yeah, that could be. I think this is one of the few things that we've come across, and it's not like we have a hard disagreement here, but we're at different ends of things, and that really hasn't happened much in this book.
No, not at all. And yeah, as you said, it's a very, very minor thing, but it's good to have different perspectives.
For sure.
But I guess with that, should we move on to the next section here?
Yeah, it'll be a short, quick one here.
Yeah.
I'll get a payback on that later, though.
This is true.
All right. Section 3. Relic slowly climbed higher. He was tired, and he knew if not for the shadows, he would have easily been spotted this morning. Time was not on his side. He didn't know if his friend had arrived at the gate or not yet. The quiet from the top of the tower could mean anything. He was exhausted, but only had a few feet to go. He knew his advantage lay in Ocelot being consumed with concentration. He kept climbing.
Can I just stop and say that like I really admire Balik's perseverance?
Yeah, he's too legit to quit.
Too legit to quit. Yeah. This is true. But I mean, again, similar to Paran in the last chapter, like I can only imagine what is racing through his mind and how physically exhausted he has to be. If anything, like I feel like this section really makes a good point of like he's exhausted. He's been climbing for God knows how long. I feel like when we left Relic, he was just starting to climb and it was like nighttime. So I would assume that he's been climbing for 5 or 6 hours straight.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's like, like some 1,000-foot tower he's climbing or something, but it's got to be, a couple 100 feet for sure. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to get spotted, so he's probably moving slow. But yeah, I mean, we also got to remember he's like free climbing here. It's not like he's got some gear. If he falls, he's fucked.
Right. Yeah. So on top of trying to be very sneaky and quiet, he's going extra slow, which is, pretty exhausting on, your muscles. But yeah, I really enjoy Ralik's perseverance, and it kind of like makes me feel like I'd like to have a guy in like that in my corner, right? Like would do anything to make sure that like I stayed alive, etc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's Rocky. It's not how many times you get hit; it's how many times you get back up.
Exactly. But yeah, I think this section was probably what, like 5 sentences in the book.
Yeah, it was pretty short. Not too bad. Probably the shortest one I had.
Right, but I think that it's even though it was a short section and it's crucial. It's almost needed because without it, it takes away that buildup. So I think it was a nicely put point of view.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it before we get there. When we get to that point, we can circle back to it. But it just, it kind of drives home some points.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you're cool, we should move on to the next section.
I am cool.
Sweet. Passerby watched as Paran and Call made their way through Worrytown to the gates. Paran fixed his eyes on the 2 guards stationed at the gates. The 2 guards were also watching them approach. As Paran approached, he waved to allow them to pass through. One guard acknowledged this, but the other walked alongside Paran's horse. This guard makes an astute observation that Call needs a surgeon and he could have one here in about 5 minutes. Paran refuses the offer, telling the guard that he needs directions to the Phoenix Inn, as Paran is from the north and never been to the city, and that was the request of the man needing medical assistance. The guard is doubtful that Call will make it that far, but offers Paran an escort. Emerging from the gate, the other guard calls out in surprise. This other guard recognizes Call, stating that he had once served under Call's house. The guard named Vildron is confused and confesses that he was under the impression that Call was dead. The other guard backlashes and tells him to screw the Ritz, telling Vildron that he knows what he knows, and this is for sure Call. Paran pips in and tells the two guards, again, the last thing Call had told Paran was to get him to the Phoenix Inn. The man nods and tells Vildron to get the wagon, as it should still be hitched up from the morning. Smiling up at Paran, this guard thanks him for bringing him back and explains that the wagon will be less jarring for Call. Paran thanks the guard and looks past him to take in the sight of the city. On a mound hill rose an old temple. Following the structure up with his eyes, he spotted the belfry, to which he could have sworn he saw movement. He squints his eyes at the tower. So yeah, in my opinion, this is a pretty transitional section. I guess there's really not a lot of things to pick out about this particular section. It's just kind of a moving characters from what was the Godrobi Hills and their journey back into the city gates. And the focus is on getting Call the medical attention that he needs. But
yeah, I think it's pretty big though. I think that, this random guard recognizes him. Like he knows who he is.
yeah,
And I guess I don't remember if it's been explained how long it's been assumed that Call's been dead. I don't know if
true.
you remember reading anything about that or not.
I don't. No. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I didn't take that into consideration. But
I think it's safe to assume that he's been presumed dead for a decent amount of time, right?
yeah, I
And this
mean,
guard's like, I know who this guy is. He's supposed to be dead, but he's not.
right. Yeah, I would definitely say, uh, probably maybe right before we are introduced to Relic and Crocus, because one of the first things that we get introduced to do is Relic essentially killing Councilman Lim with whatever divine intervention told him or swayed his mind. So I guess the only thing that I found really odd is that the way that I understand the summary is that Vilderon is not the guard that recognized Call. But why bring attention to the guard that is less meaningless? You know what I mean? Like why name the guard that is skeptical, but not the one that recognizes Call? Like what is that about?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I did not pick up on that.
maybe again I'm overthinking it, but I find it odd, and I feel like Vildron has some type of purpose. Probably very, very small purpose, but you know, maybe this is Circle Breaker. We never get his name, but
Or haven't yet.
or haven't yet. So maybe this is, but yeah, why would he be skeptical if he probably knows that Call is alive? Being that our assumption is Krupp is the eel, so you would assume that Krupp would. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going in a rabbit hole, and I don't think I can get myself out. But
I think you're right. I mean, I guess I don't know. Why do you? It seems like a detail you don't throw in unless there's a reason for it.
right,
I agree with you.
Okay. All right. Cool. But yeah, I got a good sense of scale and scenery in this section. I could easily see a lot of the events taking place visually, so I thought that was really cool. But not really a lot to dissect.
Right. Yeah, just it's kind of a setup, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you ready to move on?
I am if you are.
Yeah, we're moving along pretty well, but things do get beefier here pretty soon. So
That is true. They do get beefy. That is a good word.
like a Taco Bell double beef burrito.
That's right. 5-layer burrito.
There you go. All right. Relic poked his head over the edge of the belfry. It was empty. Then he remembered Ocelot's magic. As he pulled himself up, he saw the shimmer of Ocelot lying in front of him, aiming his crossbow below them. Relic drew his knives and moved towards Ocelot. His boot drug on the floor, alerting his prey. Ocelot spun, drew his bow, and without hesitation fired. The bolt disappeared. It had been magic, and Baruch's powder had worked. Relic landed on him. He tried to stab Ocelot, but he hit Mail. He used the knife in his other hand to stab up under his arm. Ocelot grabbed Relic by the braid and pulled and tried to bite his neck. Relic kneed him in the balls, but Ocelot regripped and hit him with his injured arm, sending a wrist blade through Relic's armor into his chest. He wound up for another attack, but Relic cut his braid free and rolled to the side while Ocelot still tried to stab him. With all his remaining energy, he stabbed Ocelot in the stomach and drove the dagger to the hilt. He used the dagger in his other hand and stabbed him in the fucking forehead. Relic laid still, not feeling pain. Call would be avenged, and Murillo would have to do it. As Ocelot bled onto him, he said he always believed he was his match. He wanted to see the sky one last time. Instead, he saw the inside of the belfry roof and thought he could see eyes looking back at him. So it was a pretty intense little fight scene that I tried to, I guess I don't want to say quickly summarize it, but give the gist of it here. And man, both these guys are just freaking warriors. I know we didn't really like Ocelot, but I mean, he gets stabbed up under your arm. Like, I'd be fucking done.
Right. You just throw in the towel at that point.
That'd just kill me. Like, I don't know. Maybe if I was really in that position, maybe I'd have a little more fight than flight in me. I don't know. But like to have a knife go through your freaking like in your armpit up through your shoulder, like that's gotta hurt like hell for one. And then you're bleeding all over. And I guess I'm sure your adrenaline's going like crazy. But like to grab somebody's like hair and like try to rip their neck out.
Like, right with your teeth. Yeah.
Like these guys are both pretty badass. Like maybe as much as I don't want to admit it for Ocelot, like he fucking put up a fight.
Yeah. I guess that's one of the things where like, Ocelot just seems like a dumbass. So you just kind of like maybe expect him to not be very smart when it came to like a confrontation, but I have a little bit more respect for him after reading this section. Just a little bit. I'm still glad he's fucking dead though.
Yeah, I'm happy he's dead too. I'm not gonna miss him very much.
No, I wonder though, what are the I guess after I read this section is what is the repercussions of Ralik's actions here though? Because like someone's gonna notice that Ocelot's not around. He is a clan leader, right? There are other people who probably don't really defy or question him. They just kind of like do what is asked of him. So I guess, yeah, I just don't know what the ramifications are going to be, and I'm curious as to see what happens with that.
Well, I know you don't worry about tomorrow's problems today, so that's tomorrow's problem.
Right. I guess in Relic's defense, I feel like he thinks that he's losing a lot of blood and probably dying, which is why he makes the comment or thought rather that Call would be avenged and Murillo would just have to take care of it, you know? So I think that he's anticipating that he is supposed to be dying, which I feel like the powder or whatever, helped him with the knife too, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the powder. Like, I still, I still feel like that was a bad idea to do what he did. To put it all on himself.
Yeah, I think so too. But
I mean, obviously, it saved his life right now, but I, I don't know.
but is that I guess I just always go back to like Opon. And I'm sure that, we know Relic isn't, the coin bearer, but he's kind of like, associated with the coin bearer. So is Relic part of a larger scheme? And that's what made him decide to put on the dust. But at the same time, like, that's just me being skeptical, you know? That's just me kind of always assuming that maybe Opon's got his fingers inside of many cookie jars.
I kind of feel it was almost like a desperation move. Like he just didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of looking
Like
at it.
he was thinking, maybe this will give me a slight advantage. Some bad shit might happen, but again, I'll deal with that later.
Right. Yeah, he was definitely motivated to saving Call's life.
Yeah, I think so.
But I can only assume that the dust. I mean, he acknowledges that the dust of Baruch's powder worked because the the bolt that Ocelot fired disappears. And Relic makes the association that that's the case because the bolt was infused with magic so that it wouldn't be like inhibited during flight. But
Yeah, so it's kind of, I feel like there's, everything comes with a price, right?
yeah, this whole section just left a lot of open questions, you know.
Yeah, it for sure did.
But at the same time, like a little bit of resolve too, right? Like, that the impending danger with, Call being shot or sniped from a belfry is no longer, like you as a reader are no longer worried about that part. You're
No,
still kind of like, what's
yeah.
going to happen with his leg, but you know that the impending
Is he gonna
yeah.
is he gonna live to get to the Phoenix Inn? I mean, at least, yeah, he's not gonna get sniped, but he might just die anyways.
Right. But yeah, nice little kerfuffle. I liked this section.
Yeah.
I think I remember after I read the section the first time, I was just like, yes, he's dead.
Well, I know. I text you. I had read part of this chapter, and this is about the point where I had stopped, and I had texted you and asked you if you had read any, and you hadn't yet. This is where I got to.
Gotcha. Yeah, staring up at the bats looking down at him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts for this section, or what are you thinking?
I think ready to move on to the next year.
Awesome. This one was probably my shortest one. So, after seeing no more movement from the belfry, Paran's gaze swung to the avenue on his left. Vildron was seated on a wagon led by two horses. The guard still next to him asks Paran's help in getting Call off his horse and into the wagon. Hurrying off his horse, Paran jumps down and assists the man. Seeing Call's face, he saw that the man was still unconscious. Paran wonders how much longer Call could last. Comparing himself to the situation, Paran suspects that he would not have made it. Growling at Call, Paran says, "After all this, you better live." Guess I don't have anything for this section. It was just Paran. God damn it. Paran no longer sees movement in the belfry and helps Call into the wagon, and they, he just, after all this, is like, "You better fucking live."
Yeah, gives him some words of encouragement.
Right. Whether he hears that or not, who knows?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add either. It's just pretty straightforward here.
Straightforward and very transitional. So I think I think that what he's trying to do is he's just building suspense within the chapter. Like each time I read about Haran in this chapter and his journey with Call and trying to get him to the Phoenix Inn, as soon as that section would end without any type of resolve, I'd be like, okay, what's going to happen to Call? And then you read the next section, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Well, take her away when you're ready.
All right, section 7. We will shift our focus a little bit here. Surat was. I was reading this name. Total tangent here. Surat. But I was looking at it like maybe it's C-Rat. C-Rat was about to make her move on the woman in the alley. That would leave the coin bearer with one guard, and they would walk right into her trap. She opened her eyes to a mid-morning sun. Her head throbbed and winced in pain as she touched it and sat up. She had been blindsided and attacked by someone good. She worried at that, as they had not met anyone that could be this good in Darujistan, aside from the two claws on the night of the ambush. And if it had been one of them, she'd be dead right now. This had been to leave her feeling embarrassed. Perhaps it was open. But gods didn't usually act this directly, as they usually used human agents. It was still a mystery, but she knew for sure she lost her chance to kill the coin bearer, at least for another day. And the next time she would be ready for her secret attacker as she disappeared into her Corral de Ghislaine warren. This section definitely moved quick. Again, it was a shorter one, but a lot happened in just a paragraph or so. You got Surat, who is was ranked pretty high up in strength, I think, as far as the Tistiandi go, and she just gets fucking knocked out by, we don't really know. And I know in the chapter it was described, she wakes up like laying in a certain way, like hands at her side or hands across her chest, something like that, and her knives at her side. So whatever attacked her then left her to wake up in a certain way as to, know that something happened, and so that she would be embarrassed about it.
Yeah, which that's the part that makes me think that it was Rake. Why though? I couldn't fucking tell you. I'm sure that that's 100% wrong, but he would be the only one that I could think of that would, or a traitor within the Tistiande potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, because we know it's not sorry.
Right. Yeah. And she was watching Rilta, whatever her name is, underneath the, by the tenement steps in some shadow area. Mies was upstairs in the tenement with Apsalar and Crocus. So, I mean, obviously there's some type of unforeseen person who had rendered her unconscious. But who, I don't know. But it's driving me crazy. I want to know who did it. Because I agree with her. We haven't seen any direct influence from Opan outside of being forced to do so by Paran. in the sword.
Right. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think of rake, and we don't have a lot of possibilities. And I guess personally, I don't love that idea, but I also think maybe you're not wrong. And I don't like it because we know all the Tistiandi that are left live on Moonspawn, so it doesn't make sense that he would take out one of his own to me. But yeah, who else do we know that could do something like this? I don't know.
Krupp.
Rake it. I think he's too fat and slow.
Yeah, but if he's got magical powers, right? Like I can just kind of see him doing something like that. Like I don't see him as necessarily the type that would kill, but I think that if he's overlooking this operation, which we know this was set up by the eel based on the previous chapter, so maybe he sits and makes sure that the plan goes smoothly in some type of, I feel like Krupp again, I don't think we're really getting the extent of his abilities. I think that like he's pretty fucking good magically. And, as a character, he kind of plays himself off a little bit as dumb or, annoying or obnoxious. Like other people don't really take him seriously, is I guess where I'm going with this. But the fact that like she was in some type of position with her knives like orderly clean like next to her, not cleaned, but laying next to her, just for whatever reason makes me think of Krupp as well. I see him doing that as a character.
Yeah, I don't know what to think. And I guess I don't know. I don't think we really get. I don't feel like there's a ton of hints.
Oh no, absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah. Um yeah, I would agree with that. No hints. We're just we're just left to speculate really.
Right.
But
And I guess Crocus lives another day here.
right, that lucky bastard. Haha. uh, I guess the only other thing, which is really, really super minor, but I think it's pronounced Syrah. And the only reason, for whatever reason, every time I see her name, I think of the painter George Seurat, who did that. He did a lot of like pointillism painting. One
I
real,
don't know what that is, but you're the artist, so
yeah, it's just a picture made out of millions of dots, essentially.
oh, okay.
Yeah, if you saw the painting that he's most well known for, you would recognize it because it's used a lot in media sometimes. So I always just that's what I always call her, but I could very well be wrong as well.
I bet you're 100% right, but I'm still going to go with Sea Rat because I think it's fun.
Do it, do it.
Sea
So
Rat it is.
I have this weird thing that I do with my cats' names. I don't know why, but I'll either so we have 5 cats. Rogue, Sage, Jack, Taro, and then Hex. But what I'll for whatever reason, I like to say their names backwards sometimes. So like we'll have Egos for Sage or Toe Rat for Taro.
Toe Rat.
Toe Rat. So she's probably the one that I pick on the most because I'll call her Toe Rat, but she also happens to be the cat that only likes me. And then Rogue, I'll go Rogui. Just I don't know why. I'm sure it's some type of like stupid language. You know how like baby talk, something like that.
I'm glad we could get derailed with that. Oh, I used to have a dog named Sage also.
Oh, was she around when we were in high school?
Yep.
Okay. Was she that like had like a bluish tint to her fur?
She
Like bluish
was.
gray?
I think the term they actually use for it is livered, but she had like black and kind of like grayish.
Gotcha. I think I remember that dog.
Yeah, she was a good
Didn't
dog.
Didn't she eat my foot pillow that I made in like
She,
7th grade?
she could have. She could
Okay.
have.
I don't remember. I didn't like that pillow.
Well, it was a good meal for a dog then.
Oh. Okay, all right. So, cats apparently are the theme of this show today.
Yeah. Yes. We forgot about what we're reading and just decided to talk about cats.
Right. Yes. We definitely could. Yes. I'm good with that. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, if you're good, I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. Within the attic of the Phoenix Inn slept Apsalar and Crocus. Granted, on opposite sides of the building. Me sat cleaning her nails, leaving Mallet's tenement, and making their way across the rooftops had been easy. Ilrilta had confirmed that no one had followed them from the streets. It was as if a path free of obstruction had been made for them. Continuing her thought, she wonders if this is the brilliance of the eel. Quickly smothering that thought, she realized she was putting too much weight on that pretense. As she felt eyes on her. That would be impossible though, and she dismisses this feeling. There came a soft knock on the trapdoor, and Ilrilta opened it and asked for Mies. Mies tells Ilrilta to tell Skirv that there's a fire waiting to happen up here. Ilrilta enters and closes the trapdoor. She tells Mies that it's getting strange downstairs. Continuing to explain that a guard and a strange man approached the inn carrying Call in a wagon. Skirv had placed Call in Krupp's room below and is asking for a cutter. Ilrilta admits that it doesn't look good for Call. Mies asks what this other one looks like. Ilrilta makes a jab about getting Paran in the sack and explains that Paran had found Call, and Call was conscious long enough to tell him to bring Call here. He's downstairs eating enough for 3 men. Mies simply says, "Foreigner?" Ilrilta moves to the window and explains that Paran was from the north, pale, but spoke Daru as if he was born here. Mies just asks if there was word from the eel. Ilrilta says that the boy and the girl are to stay here. She then, begins to explain that there were 2 guards waiting at Mammoth's place, and they were lucky to get Crocus out in time. Leaning forward, she admits to Mies that she swears she is seeing something or someone. When she blinks, they are gone. Standing up, Mies says that she shares that feeling. So nothing to do with anything that happened here, but I don't know if you caught that I said leaving Mallet's tenement. Did you catch that?
I did.
So in the book, I feel like I have found, probably an oversight in editing. I'm pretty sure that they meant to write Mammoth and not Mallet's tenement. So I was a little thrown off by that at first. And then I had to like reread it, and I'm like, did that say Mallet? That said Mallet. It's supposed to be Mammoth. Mallet is with Whiskey Jack.
The devil in the details. Good catch.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like that's the first one that we've encountered in this book, which I mean, I'm not like that critical, but I just thought it was interesting and very well could throw readers off the first time if they're not catching it,
Right.
And also, is there anybody Ilrilta and me won't fuck? Like, I feel like
I mean, it kind of seems like if there's a pulse, it's fair game.
oh God, that's a good way to put it.
I mean, from what we've seen so far.
Yeah. So I guess the only other thing that like I really stood out to me in this section was both Mies and Ilrilta kind of feel somebody watching them. So I'm wondering if if for whatever reason they're like the eel is watching them, kind of going back to like my Krupp theory with Sarah on the roof. But also at the same time, like we know that Sarah embraced her Warren. So like, did she catch up to them already, or what's going on? You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's just weird that two of these people are having similar issues, and that they get this strange feeling that they're being watched.
I think it's definitely Sea Rat.
Sarat.
Hey, man, I'm just reading it as it's written.
No worries.
I'm reading it very phonetically.
If there are listeners out there that can guide us in the correct pronunciation, please do.
P.S. I know I'm wrong.
It's okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Krupp, we were way off about. Remember Krupp?
Coop.
Krupp.
Yeah, that was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, I'm glad it was short lived. I don't know if I could keep calling him that because Krupp just makes so much more sense to me.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it feels like it fits, whereas Krupp doesn't really. So, but yeah, I guess. Did you have any thoughts on Mies and Erelta and sleeping Paran and Apsalar here?
Not really. I mean, Mies and Peralta. I kind of wonder, like, how did they end up where they're at? Where like, they're obviously like helping, but is it because they're in it for the cause, or like some other reason? Like, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would assume that the eel has done his due diligence, right, in recruiting people for his cause, right, and I would assume that would require people of the same like-mindedness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that still feels kind of weird with them. Like, I don't know how far I would trust them because the first time we met them, they were beating some guy with a stick that was hanging by his feet on a rope, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean,
Kind of odd circumstances.
yeah, I guess I don't recall the events of why that dude was strung up, but I feel like it had
He just
something.
was.
Oh, they didn't explain it? I thought he
I
was.
don't think so. I think they're just like, here, and he like asked to be let down or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, I don't think there was a lot of explanation there. We walk into the room. Here's this guy dangling by his feet, getting the shit kicked out of him.
Maybe he dunked too many cats.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, if that is a euphemism for something. But who knows? But yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I say we can move onward.
All right. Paran filled his mug again. He wondered what the Tisty Andy had meant about his luck changing. Since coming to, quote, this land, he had met three friends. Tattersail was dead and kind of been reborn. Cock was dead, and Call likely to be dead soon. He drew his sword, drove it through the planks of the table as a few regulars watched. He took a drink of beer and remembered what Rake had said, when your luck turns, break the sword or give it to your worst enemy. He didn't think Open would take the sword, so he had to break it. He had his sword for so long, but only used it once, against the hound. He heard the echoes of words from one of his tutors. And I will read that quote here again because it was another good one. I don't think it was as good as the one from Fiddler, but the tutor says, "To whom the gods choose, 'tis said, they first separate from other mortals by treachery, by stripping from your spirit's lifeblood. The gods will take all your loved ones one by one to their death, and as you harden, as you become what they seek, the gods smile and nod. Each company you shun brings you closer to them. 'Tis the shaping of a tool, son. The prod and pull, and the final succor they offer you is to end your loneliness. The very isolation they helped you create. Never get noticed, boy." He wondered if he was responsible for Call's life, Speaking out loud, he told Alpin that he had a lot to answer for, and he would answer for it.
Yeah, I feel like Rake has clearly gotten inside of Paran's head a little bit, and I think that like at this point he's questioning. He is taking Tattersail dead and being reborn, and then Tok being dead, which I guess that came to me as a real big surprise. But we can come back to that later. And then he thinks,
I don't think he's dead.
no, I don't think he's dead either. But I think that this is just Paran. Paran's in a mood. Like he's clearly broken up, and his spirits, like this quote is saying, are kind of broken at this point. So I think that he's kind of at this standstill where has my luck actually turned? Should I just break the sword because I can't give it to my worst enemy, etc., etc.,
Yeah. I can't really do that very well.
So, yeah, why do you think Erickson would throw the Tok is dead in here? Do you think it's just kind of like he's really just trying to get a sense of how Paran is feeling in this moment? Like, he seems fucking pissed.
I mean, he's gone, for right now, for all intents and purposes. Like, kind of seems like he's dead, but as a reader, I just don't buy it. And maybe he is gone. But wasn't there a quote? Somebody was talking to Tok, and maybe it wasn't Tok, but something, he'd see something in like 30,000 years or whatever. You remember what that was? Am I making any sense?
No, I'm not recalling anything.
Maybe it wasn't Tok.
I know. The only thing that comes to mind is when Krupp and Karul and the Rivi and that other Talani mass. I forget Pran maybe. I think is his name. Are
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
talking about like him coming. Yeah, he's some type of bone caster. Yeah, I feel like time was all warped in that segment in Krupp's dream there. So that's what's coming to mind as you're describing it, but I very well could be wrong. I mean,
I think that's what I was thinking of.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I can't imagine Tok is dead, but it just maybe brings me back to our original conversation after that event took place with Hairlock, and he was tossed into the rent, and no mention of him or his well being. So, like, is this it for Tok? And yeah, I don't know. Or does it get? Yeah, I don't know. There's just so many damn questions at this point.
Yeah. I just can't. I can't think that's how his story's going to end, and that's going to be like, poof, he's gone. I don't think that's it.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in this story, maybe not even in this book, but maybe in future books, like somebody realizes that they need Tok for something or another, and they, go and rescue him from wherever he is. I guess that I can make that a hill that I'll die on.
Build that hill high, buddy.
Do it. But
Whoa,
yeah,
didn't even sound like you.
do it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it just all of these sections I feel like they're just building. They're building tension, and they're transitional pieces. They're just supposed to set up for the next whatever is coming,
I feel like a lot of it's building here for these last couple sections.
And that's what I'm wondering, if it's purely just building to the last couple of sections, or if it's building for more that needs to be read. You know what I mean?
We got 130 odd pages to go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy to me. Like I can feel the thickness of the book starting to be more towards the left side of my hand, which I always
Oh yeah.
prefer that more than the right side for some reason. I don't know why. I always like the way that it feels, the thickness in the left hand than I do in the right.
I've never put any thought into that before, Justin.
Yeah, I don't know why. It was something that I discovered in when I was reading through the Wheel of Time, and those are some thick boys. So those are
They're a
some
bit chunky.
chonky. There's the word. So yeah, I don't know why. I just always preferred the way it felt in my left hand versus my right.
I'll pay attention to that, see if I notice anything. But yeah, I've never thought about it.
Out of context, that sounds really bad.
Eh, just go with it.
Just go with it. Okay, I'm talking about books, not other things. Um,
Hey man, if it feels good, do it.
will do, dude. Will do.
I'll be here all night.
All right, cool. But yeah, I guess did you have any other thoughts for this section?
I did not.
All right, well, I'm gonna move on to the second to last section for me here.
Take it away.
Climbing the steps of the Phoenix Inn, Kalam paused. The feeling of unseen eyes he had sensed at least 4 times since entering near the inn. His claw training had told him to be wary, knowing full well that whoever watched him knew who and what he was. Curiously, he feels amused by this revelation. Entering the bar, Kalam sensed that something was wrong. There were people in the bar, but why all the silence? Observing that everyone had had their backs to him, he saw that their attention was on a man who was holding his sword handle that had been thrust through the table he sat at. Pushing himself back from the counter, he felt tension around his neck and shoulders as he strode towards the man. The man looked close to snapping the sword in half. Grabbing an empty chair, Kalam slams it down at the table. Startled eyes stare back at him. Kalam tells the captain that his God-given luck holds, telling the captain in a low rumble to sit down. Releasing the sword, Paran does so. Kalam follows suit and leans forward to ask the captain what all the drama was about. Frowning, Paran asks Kalam who the fuck he is. Telling Paran who he was, and that the last time he had seen the captain was when he had had 2 fatal dagger's wounds in him. Like a viper, Paran grabs Kalam's shirt. Kalam, too surprised to have anticipated the outburst, Paran asks Kalam if his squad's healer was still alive. Still in shock, Kalam stutters a response to which Paran interrupts, ordering Kalam to bring him here. Paran releases the grip on Kalam's shirt and does as ordered.
Again, pretty straightforward still. Yeah, he's kind of a grubby little bitch.
Yeah.
You better settle down a little bit. Somebody's you're gonna run into a bigger, badder guy who's gonna smack you around.
I just thought it was funny that, well, maybe not funny, but I guess I don't really see Kalam being taken by surprise like that. So it made it seem like it was just that quick of a strike.
Yeah, it was just kind of out of nowhere.
A little abuse of power, though, don't you think?
Yeah, he's kind of going to his head a bit.
Yeah. I don't know. It just kind of like it encapsulates how Paran must feel. And, going back to some of the previous sections in this chapter, he's just pissed. He's just not thinking straight and just there's no calmness or coolness about any of the way that he's behaving. So, but I mean, I can understand, like, I can empathize with where he is. So, I guess I'm not gonna call him a whiny bitch like I have some other characters. Oh, Crocus. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's kind of ballsy here with everything he's doing, but at the same time, like, He's already died once, right? Like, it doesn't really seem to scare him. Like, he's doing all this stuff. Like, all right, well, what are you gonna do? Kill me? Like, I've been
Right.
there, man. Done that. Not a big deal.
No, not at all. Yeah.
But I still think he does kind of need to be put into his place a little bit here.
Yeah, he's acting a damn fool. I liked the intensity of the way that Kalam approaches Haran. You know, just kind of like slamming a chair in front of him and like leaning forward to be all like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you being so damn dramatic, dude?" You know?
Yeah, I definitely got the feeling it was like a dick measuring contest here a little bit, right?
Yeah, I guess that's a better way to put it. But yeah,
Just kind of how I felt about it.
it's just all of these sections just build suspense. Like, what is this setting up to? You know, is what I keep constantly going back to after I read a lot of these sections. So
Well, I think we get quite a bit of payoff here in the next section.
read on.
Do you have anything else you want to add? I wasn't pushing forward, but
Oh no, I don't. I feel like pretty much all of these sections outside of the one you're getting to are very just transitional. They're set up, you know, but also kind of moving and pacing the action along.
yeah. Well, hold on to your butts, boys and girls. This was not a terribly long chapter, but this was a pretty long section, and it was meaty. There was a lot to it here, so I've got, I don't know, probably over a page and a half summarizing here. And again, it's not going to do it justice to the actual book, but here we go. Bran called for the innkeeper, saying that the black man would be here in a few minutes with company and to send them to Call's room immediately. Bran headed to the stairs, looked back, and said nobody better touch his sword. He headed up to Call's room. The surgeon in the room said it's too late. The infection is too far gone. Bran asked if he was still breathing. The surgeon replied, for now, but not for long. If it had been further down his leg, he might have been able to cut it off, but the poison spread throughout all of him. Bran asks what he owes him, and the surgeon says nothing because he failed. A few minutes later, a man entered, and Bran asked if it was Mallet. He shook his head and entered. Behind him was Whiskey Jack. He asks Bran what the fuck he's doing here. Mallet puts his hand on the bandages and noticed the rot and says he's gone. Suddenly, he's digging into the wound. Someone stuffed it with herbs. The cut was halfway through the bone, and the herbs poisoned the marrow. He pushes everyone back for some space and says another minute and he'd be dead. Be thankful he's here and as good as he is. Bran went to Whiskey Jack and asked if Lorne had contacted him. All he got was a blank response, so he knew he was in time. He tells Whiskey Jack he's been set up. The plan is to take the city, yes, but also to kill him. Whiskey Jack asks if he and Tattersail worked this out. Bran tells Whiskey Jack she's dead, chasing Hairlock out of the Rivy Plain. Taishran got to her. She intended to pass this information on to him. Unfortunately, Bran won't be her equal as an ally when the adjunct shows up. Kalam spoke up and said he doesn't like the idea of Open's pawn helping them. Bran says he's not Open's, but the sword downstairs is. Their wizard should be able to confirm this. Bran says the adjunct will have no problems finding him, but she's not the major threat. She has a Talan Imus with her. Whiskey Jack asked Kalam for a satchel. He took out an object and unwrapped it. Bran asked what it was. It was a knife made from yellowed human forearms. Whiskey Jack explained that in the days of the Empire, the inner ring of military commanders each had one, treasure looted from a Kachane Chamal tomb. He says they attributed a lot of success to them as he drove the point into the table. A white light shot out of the bones, spinning. Pran heard a voice that he was able to recognize. It was Dujek. He tells Whiskey Jack that he's getting worried. Whiskey Jack says it was unavoidable and they had little to report until now, but he needs to know the situation in Pale. Dujek says Tayshrin is, quote, stumbling in circles. He was last happy when Bellerden and Tattersail were killed. Now he only has questions. What game is open up to? Was there a fight between Rake and Shadow Throne? Did a soul-shifted puppet kidnap, torture, and kill a Claw officer? And what was revealed by the, quote, old man? They told Dujek they didn't know Hairlock did any of that. He believes Whiskey Jack and tells him that the Empress must think destroying his army will bring him back under the Empire's heel, and also that the Adjunct and Imus have reached the Jagut's barrel. The fate of the world is with them in Darujistan. If they unleash the Jagut, they are meant to be on the casualty list, and Tayshrin will set things in motion by announcing the bridge burners are disbanded. Now, Dujek says it's Whiskey Jack's turn. Whiskey Jack says Paran is alive and he's with them right now, and that Open is working through his sword, not him directly. Dujek asks if Tak was any help, and Paran says he gave his life for the cause. Hairlock ambushed them and threw Tak into a hole of some sort. Dujek apologizes for the loss and asks what to do with Paran. What choice will he make? Paran says that Tayshrin killed Tattersail, though he purposefully leaves out that she has been reborn, and that he plans to defy the Empire over it. He wants vengeance. He needs more details before he commits, though. Dujek says the Empress will lose the continent. They have enough support for that. Nathalog and Genebaris will revolt, and the Moranth alliance will fall apart. The plan may not make a lot of sense right now, but they are preparing for a much nastier enemy. The Panian Seer. He wants a holy war and is preparing for it. If it's vengeance he wants, then leave Tayshrin to the enemies near home, and Lorne was all his. Paran agrees to the terms, but prefers that Whiskey Jack stay in command. Whiskey Jack agrees and tells Dujek they will speak after it's done. Whiskey Jack says it's clear plans have changed. Someone is ensuring the Jenna Bakken campaign fails. Not even Dujek will let that happen. So for now, Lorne needs to live. Paran tries to interject, but is cut off. She's on her way to the city, assuming her and the Imus were successful in freeing the Jaghut. They will need a reason to come to the city, and that's Lorne. Lorne will find them, and they'll decide what to do with her. If Paran challenges her, he will die. And if it is necessary, she will die, but her downfall will be subtle. He asks Paran if he has any problems with this. He gives in and says no, but he wants to know why they mined the city. Whiskey Jack says in a moment and asks who the wounded man is. Mallet says he's not wounded anymore. Paran says he'll explain, but he needs his sword first and goes to retrieve it. As he walks out, he asks where Sari is. Kalam says she's missing, but they do know what she is. Does he? Paran says he knows as well.
Good job on that.
Oh boy,
dude.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
And I tried to cover as best I could, and it's just one of those things. I mean, there's just so much there. I feel like I just have to read the whole section like word for word. But yeah, I mean we get so much information here. Like it's just wild. So reading this, like just the fact that we're well over 3/4 into this book. I mean, we're in the final stretch of this book, and you find out like, okay, yeah, we're still fighting these forces, but there's actually something worse that we're going to deal with. And I mean, from the sounds of it, they've known about it for a little bit, but it's just being brought up now. Like it's like throwing a wrench in both wheels on your bike, I guess. Like I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming either. But I guess what sucks is like you're just left with speculation as to what this Pananian, I don't even know how to say the fucking word. This year, is what he is or what they are, like you have no idea outside of they just announced this dude as or this person as, you know, something that thwarts everything else, you know what I mean? But you don't get any other context to it. So I'm assuming it'll all be revealed in good time, but it makes me all the more anxious to read on.
Yeah, like I mean, we keep reading about the Empress and Lorne and how they're assholes, and like, oh, there's a bigger, badder asshole out here. Like, we're not even really worried about these other guys anymore. Like, this guy we got to deal with.
Right. And I mean, Lauren and Tool are essentially in the process of awaking a Jaghut tyrant. Tyrant. And they're like, yeah, whatever. This other dude's more of a concern.
Like, he might mess some stuff up, but like, the Panty and Seer's really gonna make things a mess.
Right. Exactly. So it just and again, it just kind of adds to where this chapter is going. And again, all of the setup that I feel like this chapter is just one big setup for things. For all of these different characters who are essentially kind of converging. And I know we talked a little bit about it before we hit the record button, but I just think it's funny that this is the first time, like 520 pages into the book, out of like 670 or something like that, where Whiskey Jack and Paran finally meet, like formally. You know, I know that Whiskey Jack was there when Paran was stabbed, and could recognize him, but Paran, you can't say the same thing. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's. I don't even know how to describe it, man. Like, you just got. If you've listened this far and haven't read the book, you should probably start reading this book.
Right, right.
That's all I can say.
I mean, it. I guess I relate it to the feeling of just having more shit piled on your plate. You know, like there's all of this stuff happening, and you're aware of it, but as a reader, now you're introduced to all this stuff, but your plate is still full of stuff that you haven't even like touched yet. You know?
Yeah, it's like finding the dessert underneath your green beans or something. I don't know. Like, you're like, oh, okay, I'm getting through this, and I'm like, what? What is this?
Right, right. I guess outside of the whole Seer fiasco and everything that we just talked about, do you remember when the fuck anybody put herbs in Call's leg? I don't
No.
remember that at all. So, like, did the surgeon who failed, like, was that one of his attempts that he tried? I don't specifically. It's not mentioned what he did. He all that's mentioned is that he couldn't cut it because it was too high up on the leg.
And it, like, yeah, the poison basically spread through his body.
Right. But it kind of seems like the herbs have been there for a while. I mean, why would I mean, I guess fast acting poison, but I mean, I don't remember who put herbs in there unless that was something that maybe Call did in attempt to remedy himself before he met up with Paran. That would be the other scenario that would make sense to me, but I don't know who put the I don't know who put the herbs there or in his leg.
I don't know either. I don't remember reading anything about that, but I feel like the odds of us both missing it are pretty low.
Right. So I feel like that's intentional, or Yeah, there's some type of setup to that, or those who are listening, if you have any insights on it, please let us know. But again, don't, if it's a spoiler thing, don't say anything about it. Just tell us to Raffo. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. That had me puzzled when I read this.
Yeah, I agree. Just I don't know, unless it's one of those things where it's just the plot kind of demands it. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, because it kind of seems like Paran was unaware of it because he has no idea when he's asked about it. So, I mean, I just I'm trying to I'm having a hard time pinpointing where at one point in Call's journey, or after he was cut by Lauren's sword, where someone put herbs in it.
And I mean, Perrin's a captain. He's got to have some like first aid skills. You think like, oh yeah, we stuffed some plants in his leg. Like you probably remember like that happening.
Right, yeah. Unless he's just denying it. I mean, I guess there's endless possibilities. The only other thing that I can think of is potentially maybe we misunderstood what the doctor having a rough night was. Maybe he did end up helping, but I always just imagined that he couldn't help because he was, sleeping off his bad night.
Yeah, I just thought he was kind of on a bender, right?
Right. So I just associated that that wouldn't be something that he assisted with, and that the bandages that they were given were just in lieu of the doctor not being able to help.
Right. Yeah. Like here you go. Best of luck. See you later.
Right. But I guess the other cool thing is what did you think about the way that Dujek and Whiskey Jack communicated here?
Excuse me. Yeah. I guess it was cool, and I don't know why I didn't even like pop up on my radar. But yeah, you've got like some sort of weird knife made out of people bones,
Bones.
and it's a fucking cell phone, basically, right?
Right, yeah.
My arm bones is an antenna.
There we go. We should start a brand called Arm Bones.
There you go. Yeah, let's do it.
But
Yeah, it was. It's definitely interesting. Like one of those things I haven't seen before. Just all this like stuff. Like where did Erickson get all these ideas from? And again, to keep all this stuff straight, like so it makes sense. I don't know. It's beyond me.
yeah, I'm very impressed by the way that he's describing, and just, where he's coming up with the ideas for these things are just fucking genius to me, you know. But I just I feel like this section really reiterates and brings us the reader back to things that are happening in Pale, you know. Taishran and Dujek. Taishran doesn't know what he's doing. Clearly. I mean, we got a sense of that a long time ago. That he doesn't seem like he's really knows what he's doing, but for some reason Lucine and Lauren are like, yeah, continue on. And, we know that he's satisfied with the fact that Bellard and Tattersale were killed because they were all part of, essentially the previous empire, which seems to kind of be like the only clear-cut concrete goal that we know of from, the current empress, is that she wants that loyalty dead to the previous emperor.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, any empire wants to expand and control more, and yeah, on top of that, she just wants to wipe out the memory of the previous one.
Right. So I feel like a lot of conversation between Dujek and Whiskey Jack and Paran, some are I guess different point of views on events that we've read about, specifically from, I think, Tishran, we all could have anticipated that he probably would have been happy about the knowledge of Billerton and Tattersail, but also Dujek and what he's trying to hold down in Pale and all of these different things that are happening, like with the Black Moranth and Nathalog and Genebaris and the alliance is falling apart and yeah, there's just so much that happens. It's hard to do it justice with every specific thing, but I feel like those are the big points in the section.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have anything to add to that. You summed it up pretty well.
Do you have any speculation on why Paran left out what he knows about Tattersail?
I think he doesn't fully trust what's going to happen. I think he doesn't know how far he can trust these people. Is kind of my feeling. So I almost feel like it's kind of his ace in the hole. If things go south, he could almost.
Like track her down?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess we don't really know what Tattersail is going to want to do once she. Is she going to have memory and stuff, of what happened, and maybe she's going to be pissed and want to go on a rage. And if Pran's not happy, maybe he'll just side with her.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Paran is kind of confusing to me in this chapter because, clearly he's pissed off because and, indecisive as to whether or not, he still has his luck from Opon and his sword, debating whether he should break that because of all of these tragic events. But at the same time, do you find it weird that he's just okay with the plan and having to let Lauren live, even though he, pretty much explained to Dujek, that he wants vengeance, etc., etc. I just thought that was weird that, I guess there wasn't really any explanation on the way that he reacted to the reasons that Lauren had to live.
I think it's kind of related to his station. I mean, he's a captain, right? You don't get to captain by accident. I mean, you got to be smart. You got to be a good tactician. You got to be a good soldier. So I think he knows he's just going to have to wait for his moment.
Got it. Got it.
And so maybe he doesn't like that, but in the long run, it's going to be better.
Gotcha.
That's kind of my thought.
No, that's good. I have no further questions.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend I'm some great military mastermind by any means.
Well,
that's just kind of my thought.
makes sense. But yeah, I guess I feel like I should have more to talk about in there, but I don't. I can't think of anything else. I feel like we've touched on the major points.
Well, go ahead and we can move on here if you're ready. I'm ready.
All right, let's move on to the last section here. Tool and Lorne make their way through to the center of the barrow. Tool turns to Lorne and explains that the object she seeks is called the Finnest, explaining to Lorne that within it stores the Jaghut's powers, but warns that once he realizes it's missing, he will hunt it down. Trying to warm her fingers and hands, Lorne asks what will happen when she has it in her possession. Tool explains that the Otateral sword will deaden its aura some, but should not remain in her hands for long. Lorne scans the objects on the lintel stone. Reaching for a mirror encased in deer antler, she hesitates. Beside it, almost lost in the frost, as a small round object. It lay on an animal hide of some kind. Frowning as she picked it up, with the ice melting from the warmth of her hands, she cleans it off, and observes that it's not perfectly round. Tool chimes in and explains that it's an acorn. Lorne nods and acknowledges that this is the Finnest. and that it was an odd choice. Tool shrugs and explains to Lorne that the Jaghut were an odd people. Lorne, directing her question to Tool, tells him that the Jaghut were not warlike before Tool's kind sought to destroy them. Tool was slow to reply to this, but eventually explains that the key is making them angry enough to destroy indiscriminately. Pocketing the Finnist, she says, let's get out of here. So I had two movie references that came to mind when I read this section.
All
And
right.
the first one was the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when they're at the very end of the movie and they're in the Knights Temple and there's all of these like goblets that represent like the Holy Grail. You've seen that movie, right?
It's been a bit, but yeah.
Okay. Basically, Indiana Jones has to pick out the real cup of Christ, essentially, and in all of there's just like a table that surrounds the whole room filled with different types of cups designed in different ways. So that was one thing that kind of like came to mind is, there's all these items on the stone and Lornan has to find out which is the Finis that, houses the Jaghut's powers. So that was the first reference. The other movie reference was from The Mummy because I got, have you seen that movie, The Mummy? Rachel Weisz and Brendan.
With Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, those are awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. I love those movies too. But you know how the Americans take like the organ jars from Hymenoptera? That's kind
Yeah,
of,
I kind of remember. It's been a long time since I watched that too.
and then the mummy, in order to like fully get its powers back, has to go find these people that have taken his organ jars and then
Oh, right.
kill
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what I got with the whole, taking the Finnist, and she shouldn't have it in her hands for long because the Jaghut, once he awakens, will pretty much go on a tirade trying to find it.
So, in your head canon, is Brendan Fraser Paran?
No.
I love how you just instantly shot that down. No.
Have you seen what Brendan Fraser looks like nowadays?
No.
Okay, look him up when we're done. But
Sorry.
did you just look him up?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally do that. But yeah, I guess just the level again. I go back to, well, I guess this is the third movie reference, and I know that we already referenced this, but when we were talking about the Jacob Barrow, but just the whole, aliens versus predators, just that whole type of like tundra type of cold atmosphere. Erickson did a magnificent job again explaining their journey into the Barrow. Yeah, I'm wondering what's going to happen with Tool and Lorne now that it kind of seems like they have accomplished their mission. And I know that in a previous chapter, Tool was talking about, taking off and kind of welcomed Lorne to you know keep him company, so to speak. So I'm curious as to where that leads us to. But yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to read and find out.
Raffo.
I'm not sure where that's gonna go.
Just makes me anxious to continue on. I feel like a lot of things have been like nicely tied off, but at the same time, like more things have just been unleashed. So
Yes. Excuse me. Whew, sorry. Yeah, there's been a lot that's happened, and we've been introduced to some new stuff. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens in this last. Well, we got one chapter left of this book, but we're coming up to the final sub book of this book.
Are we? I know we have one chapter left in the City of Blue Light.
And then it is the Unfet.
The
I don't know.
Fete.
I'm not French.
Yeah, you're right. We are coming up on the last sub book. That kind of makes me a little sad, but anxious to cap it off, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, probably about what? Roughly the end of this month? Beginning next month, we'll be done with this book.
Yeah. Do you remember how, I think it was last episode, we were talking about the meaning of this book, Gardens of the Moon, and how we couldn't quite place it?
A little bit, yeah. We haven't heard anything about the gardens or anything, what this Garden of the Moon is.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know why. I feel like it was maybe a little obvious, but I feel like the moon doesn't represent the moon. I feel like it represents Moonspawn in some way.
Yeah, I've been thinking that too.
I guess I just, for whatever reason, every time I read the title, I just think of it too literally. And going back and like really thinking about it, there's Rake's kind of a pretty prominent character at this point. And, his story is a little depressing. So I don't know. Maybe there's some type of like new something or another with the Tistiande that brings new life, like a garden. I don't fucking know. Maybe they have a different view on the world because of events that unfold. Just speculating again.
I do not have any speculations to add to yours.
No worries. I guess if you're good, I think that we can wrap up this summary and end the episode.
Quite gracefully here, huh? We're doing a bang up job.
Yeah. It's okay. I think that the way that we can maybe cap this off is I told you last night we got our first dislike on our prologue episode on YouTube.
Like, I know that one probably sounded like garbage.
Yeah.
Because we've come a little bit of ways, but yeah, I'm not like butthurt about it or anything.
It's just I guess to me it's always one of those things where like that's the episode that either like draws people in or not. It's like when like a show that you're anticipating and the first episode just absolutely sucks. Like part of you doesn't even want to like continue on, And so like I've noticed that with the trend on a lot of these podcast platforms and YouTube is that the prologue has the most views, but then episode 1 is significantly less. So I'm wondering how many people are being deterred. But at the same time, like that's our journey. I'm not going to change it. I'm satisfied because without that episode, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't have recognized that, hey, we need probably some decent sound equipment. Hey, we probably need to come up with some type of format, So I'm going to appreciate for what it was and the way that it got our journey to where we are.
For sure. Yeah, I guess if you want to give us like a dislike, whatever, that's cool, but maybe throw a comment there and be like, hey, I didn't like this. So we can try to grow from it and change whatever we're doing to not even, to be more appealing to an individual, but maybe as a broader sense.
Right, because if other people are feeling
sometimes it's right, exactly, yeah. Other people might be feeling that way, but only one person maybe said something. So We can handle constructive criticism. Just don't be a dickhead.
Right. Don't be a dick.
So even like a dislike is not a dickhead move by any means, but
No. It just caught me off guard. So, but it makes me appreciate the listeners that we have. I guess congruently. I don't know if that's the right term. Consistently. So again, thank you again to all who have followed us, listened to us, talk about this book. And like I said, I think that Derek and I are very committed individuals, and we really want to see this series come to fruition. Even though it's going to be a long journey, but that is why it is our epic quest.
yeah, I wouldn't want to be doing this with anybody else.
That's what I'm saying. It's been fun. Always fun.
It has been fun, for sure.
There's some of the cockamamie ideas that we come up and banter about is great. I often find myself at the end after we record, and even when I'm editing the episode, like chuckling quite a bit at some of the shit that we say. So
yeah, if anything, it's a good excuse to spend some time talking to a friend about a book.
Very well written book, yes. But it makes me I'm proud. I'm proud of what we've done and what we've accomplished. And hopefully after we are done with the Books of the Fallen, we can continue to read this for other series, or, one-off books, or, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's fun, and I want to see it grow and obviously do well, but those things take time, so there's not any rush by any means.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, I guess with that being said, I'll probably bid you adieu.
You have a good night, buddy.
Yeah, you do the same, man.
Take care.
Later.